Doctor's final warning. She risked her unborn child. That night changed her life. Pregnant and under pressure, almost too late, a mother's biggest regret. Tina had dreamed of this moment for years. Every month she prayed quietly, hoping for good news. When she finally saw the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, her hands began to shake. Tears rolled down her cheeks before she could even process what was happening. She was going to be a mother. Samir lifted her in his arms, laughing and crying at the same time. "A miracle," he whispered, placing his hand gently on her stomach. For the first time in years, their small apartment felt full of light. A week later, they sat nervously inside the clinic. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. Dr. Farhan studied her reports carefully, his calm face growing serious. "Aisha," he began softly, "this is a high-risk pregnancy." Her smile faded. "Your blood pressure is unstable, and your body is weak from stress. You must avoid emotional shock, heavy lifting, long travel, and arguments. No unnecessary tension. If you don't follow these instructions strictly, you could lose the baby." The word lose echoed in her mind. She nodded quickly. "I'll be careful, doctor." "I promise." But as they left the hospital, reality waited outside. Samir's business was struggling. Bills were piling up. At home, her mother-in-law complained constantly that Tina was too sensitive and too weak. The house never felt peaceful for long. That night, an argument exploded over something small, money. Voices grew louder. Accusations turned sharp. Tina tried to stay silent, remembering the doctor's warning. Avoid stress. Avoid emotional trauma. But when her mother-in-law blamed her for being a burden, something inside her cracked. Tears streamed down her face as she rushed to her room. Her chest tightened. Her heartbeat felt too fast. She placed both hands on her stomach. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her unborn child. Suddenly, a sharp wave of dizziness hit her. She had forgotten to take her evening medication. In the chaos, she had skipped dinner too. Samir rushed in, panic on his face. "Tina, breathe. Please breathe." In that moment, she understood something terrifying. Pregnancy wasn't just about happiness and baby names. It was fragile. It demanded discipline, calmness, sacrifice, even when life refused to cooperate. As she lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, one thought kept repeating in her mind. Could she protect her baby from a world that felt so uncontrollable? And for the first time since seeing those 2 pink lines, she felt afraid. For a few days after the doctor's warning, Tina tried to be strong. She woke up early, drank her medicine on time, and avoided lifting anything heavier than a glass of water. Samir even hired a part-time helper to ease her workload. For a moment, it felt like things were finally under control. But stress doesn't always knock before entering. One afternoon, as Tina was resting on the sofa, her phone rang. It was one of Samir's employees. "Oh, please come quickly." "Collapsed at the office." The words drained the color from her face. "What do you mean, collapsed?" she whispered, her hands already trembling. "He fainted. We're taking him to City Hospital." Her mind went blank. Without thinking, she grabbed her phone and rushed out of the house. She didn't wait for transport. She didn't call anyone. She didn't even remember the doctor's voice echoing in her head. No stress, no running, no shock. Her heart pounded violently as she hurried down the street, waving for a taxi. The afternoon heat made it harder to breathe. She felt lightheaded, but fear pushed her forward. At the hospital, she saw Samir lying on a stretcher, pale but conscious. Relief flooded her eyes with tears. "I'm fine," he whispered weakly. It was just exhaustion. But Tina's body had already paid the price. She hadn't eaten since morning. She had skipped her medication. Her breathing grew uneven. A sharp cramp twisted through her lower abdomen. She froze. The pain returned, stronger this time. Dr. Farhan appeared in the emergency corridor, surprise and concern crossing his face. "Tina, what are you doing here?" She tried to speak, but another wave of pain bent her forward. Within minutes, she was lying on a hospital bed herself, machines attached, nurses moving urgently around her. Dr. Farhan's voice was firm now. "I warned you. Emotional shock can trigger complications. Your blood pressure is dangerously high." Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. I was scared for my husband," she whispered. "And who will protect your baby if you collapse?" He replied gently but firmly. The room felt heavy with guilt. For the first time, Tina realized something painful. Love alone wasn't enough. Panic and sacrifice without caution could destroy the very life she was trying to protect. As the monitor beeped steadily beside her, she closed her eyes and placed her hand on her stomach again. I have to be stronger, she thought. But deep inside, fear had already begun to grow. Was this the moment that would change everything? The pain did not stop that night. Even after the doctors stabilized her blood pressure, Tina could feel something was wrong. A dull ache lingered in her abdomen, and every small movement made her anxious. Samir sat beside her hospital bed, guilt written all over his face. "This is my fault," he whispered, holding her hand carefully. "If I hadn't overworked myself." Tina shook her head weakly. "No, I shouldn't have run like that." But both of them knew the truth. Life had pushed them into a corner, and the baby was suffering for it. Around midnight, the pain suddenly intensified. Tina gasped, clutching her stomach. "Samir!" Within seconds, nurses rushed in. Machines beeped faster. The room filled with urgency. Dr. Farhan arrived, his expression serious as he checked the monitor. "The baby's heart rate is fluctuating," he said quickly. "We need to act now." Tina's heart felt like it would explode from fear. Tears streamed down her temples as she lay helpless on the hospital bed. "I don't want to lose my baby," she cried softly. Samir stood frozen, praying under his breath. The next hour felt endless. Doctors worked carefully, giving injections, monitoring every small change. Finally, the beeping sound began to steady. Dr. Farhan stepped back, removing his gloves. "For now, both mother and baby are stable," he said. "But listen to me carefully, and this cannot happen again." His voice softened but remained firm. "Your body is under extreme stress. Another severe episode like this, and we may not be able to save the child." Those words shattered Tina. Save the child. It was real now. This wasn't just advice anymore. It was life and death. When the room finally quieted, Samir sat beside her again. His eyes were red. "I promise," he said, his voice breaking. "From today, nothing is more important than you and our baby. Not business, not money, not anyone's opinion." Tina closed her eyes, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She felt guilt, fear, and something else, determination. She gently placed her hand over her stomach. "I'm sorry," she whispered to the tiny life inside her. "I was careless, but I won't be again." For the first time since the pregnancy began, she truly understood. Being a mother wasn't just about love. It was about protecting your child even from your own emotions. And from that night onward, everything had to change. Because this time, she couldn't afford another mistake. After that terrifying night, something inside Tina changed. Fear was still there, but now it was controlled by determination. She followed every single instruction Dr. Farhan had given her. Medicines were taken on time. Meals were balanced and regular. She avoided arguments completely. If tension started rising in the house, she quietly walked away instead of defending herself. Peace became her priority. And this time Samir truly stepped up. He reduced his working hours and hired extra help at the office. At home, he handled the groceries, the bills, even the cooking when needed. If anyone criticized Tina, he calmly shut it down. "My wife and my child come first," he said firmly one evening, making it clear to everyone. Slowly, the environment around Tina began to soften. Laughter returned in small moments. She started reading positive books, listening to calming recitations, and taking short evening walks with Samir. Each day that passed without pain felt like a victory. Months later, on a quiet, rainy morning, Tina felt something different, a deep, steady tightening in her abdomen. Samir noticed her expression change. "It's time, isn't it?" he asked nervously. She nodded, holding his hand tightly. This time there was no panic. No running, no chaos. At the hospital, Dr. Farhan greeted them with a reassuring smile. "You've done well," he told Tina. "Now trust your strength." Labor was long and exhausting. Hours passed with pain that felt unbearable. But through every contraction, Tina remembered the nights she almost lost everything. That memory gave her power. "This pain means life," she whispered to herself. Finally, after one final push, a sharp cry filled the delivery room. The most beautiful sound she had ever heard. "It's a baby girl," the nurse announced warmly. Tears flooded Samir's eyes as he saw his daughter for the first time. Tina held the tiny, warm body against her chest, overwhelmed with gratitude. Dr. Farhan looked at her proudly. "You protected her," he said softly. In that moment, Tina understood something deeply. Pregnancy isn't just about carrying a child. It's about discipline, sacrifice, emotional control, and strength you never knew you had. She had almost lost everything because of stress and panic. But she learned. And because she learned, her daughter was alive in her arms. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't dramatic. It's simply choosing wisdom over emotion. And that choice changed her life forever.